I'm on dada, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. Something about love, something about us. Many things we don't love, many things we don't love us. It in the be like highway.
Up, young people. If you see a woman or a man or whoever, and you are just attracted to their body, and you make no actual internal connection with this person, that is lust.
Don't know. Fire. I beg you, make you stay. Girl, you always try to run away. Waiting I go do to make you stay for days. Is this love enough? Yeah, you know I got the stamina. One me now. I bet I want me now. Give me all that, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want you to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. I'm on dada, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. Something about love, something about us. Many things we don't love, many things we don't love us. It in the be like highway. Girl, you always cross up my leg. Girl, you wanna do the things that way, away. Go far away, away, away. And I beg you, make you stay. Girl, you always try to run away. Waiting I go do to make you stay for days. Is this love enough? Yeah, you know I got the stamina. One me now. I bet I want me now. Give me all that, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. I'm on dada, baby, no go put me for the corner. Girl, I want to take you to my mama. Girl, I want to love you till forever. Many things there for my mind. Love you only one time. Anything you want, girl, I go back. Tell them other girls say na bye-bye. My, I will love you, girl, till I lie. Girl, I want to tell you, say you find that. Girl, me and you, girl, it's final. Come to my side. I make you stay. Girl, you always try to run away. Waiting I go do to make you stay for days. Is this love enough? Yeah, you know I got the stamina. One me now. I bet I want me now. Give me.
Love is when you actually build a bond and a connection. You get to know this person. They get to know you. You are always around them and spending time with them. They become a priority to your life. So listen up, young people. If you see a woman or a man or whoever, and you are just attracted to their body.
Hey, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Your mic's off.
All right, let's get Alex Suarez back up. I see your photo. I see your picture, but why isn't it showing in the screen?
Yeah, for this show, if it's not, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, for this show, I'm using my laptop camera that doesn't work usually. So if you want, I can just go back into the show for my cell phone that has a functioning camera.
Okay.
Because I don't even think I have a profile picture. Actually, let me check something real quick. Let me stop the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that profile picture there.
You cool with that? Or whatever you cool with.
But let me put the camera back on. Maybe by turning it off and turning it back on, it'll work.
Okay.
Can you see me yet?
Nah.
All right, I don't have to be seen for the show this time, bro. That
You're
went up the
good.
bottom. Go back in on my phone. There could be complication. We could just do it this way.
Okay, no problem. Real quick, before we start the show, we the economy is very, very tight right now, and people that are watching, please share this out. Like,
Oh, we're
share,
live already.
subscribe. What's up?
Are we live already?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
Like, share, subscribe, please. A lot of people that have been watching here and there, I appreciate you reaching out saying that you like the show, you like the platform. This is a crucial moment of asking for support. I don't really ask for support because I like to keep things on a working class level, but please, the economy is getting tight. And in order for me and Alex Suarez to keep doing this, to keep Jabari Media going, we got to get our subscribers up, man, on YouTube. Just only the subscribers. You know somebody that like this type of talk, reach out, tell them what's going on, tell them about the interviews. We bring in an amazing guest, So I really, 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 really would love and encourage, if we could get up to 1,000 subscribers by either the fall or the end of fall. That we could do this. We could get up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. You know why? Because we're at almost 3,000 subscribers on other platforms and over 3,000 subscribers on Meta. So we can do this. All right. So we got to get our subscribers up so we can keep on doing this. But anyway, let's get back to the show. You can hear me real good, Alex?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so we had a picture up. Let's show you this again. Alex wanted to get into it about the Moroccan occupation on the Western Sahara.
Yeah, that moment I believe was in Quetta, which is still under Spanish control technically, but it was one of the Moroccans that they sent to invade Quetta or retake Quetta, depending on your political interpretation. And one of the occupants wanted to return home, and that scene is on the border between Quetta and Morocco. And one of the Moroccan border guards threatens one of those migrants, if you will, with a giant stone, because that's how desperate they are for those invaders or retakers, whatever you want to call them, Moroccan citizens. Some of them are prisoners, to stay in Quetta. And anybody with common sense, and even Russia did an investigation, not Russia, China did an investigation on this and found that Israel was involved. But anybody with common sense knows the recent history. Yeah, it's not even a question of declassification or investigation. Going through what Mossad's plans were with Morocco, with the Moroccan crown, with the emir there. It's just common sense. It doesn't have to be revealed in the media or through intelligence. The timing of this is not coincidental. That it's a retaliation for Pedro Sanchez standing up to Israel and the United States over the Iran war, over the Gaza genocide, over not letting Trump use the U.S. controlled bases in Spain to launch missiles into Iran. And, Italy, Meloni's government, in contrast, only used words. She said she opposed the war, but then she let the U.S. launch missiles from bases within Italy. And it's hard for her to justify that when Spain is actually standing up and doing what internationally law-respected or civilized country should be doing. And so the retaliation is to pressure Spain by taking those lands in Moroccan areas. And the hypocrisy or double standard that I want to point out, this is what Western Sahara has to do with this, in case you didn't see the last show where we went into this a little bit. We had a clip on this as well. Western Sahara, most of it is under Moroccan control. It was under partial Mauritanian control, then they withdrew. So really the only country that's still oppressing the Western Saharans, who's taken most of their land, are the Moroccans. And they have like a militia that's backed by Algeria that controls maybe 5% of historical Western Sahara, but it is under Moroccan occupation. So if the Moroccans want to suddenly care about Spanish-controlled areas within their country, they're being hypocritical because they still control, against the will of the Western Saharan people, those areas.
Right.
And there are progressive countries, Spain included, the Canary Islands that are Spanish islands, are very close to Western Sahara. There are progressive countries from Spain on to Venezuela that have supported Western Saharan independence. So the Moroccan regime is a monarchy. It's reactionary. It's in league with the West, in particular with the Zionists and the U.S. imperialists. And that's why this needs to be exposed.
Right. And not to mention also that, when you mentioned that cicada is, it's called cicada, right? I want to make sure I pronounce correctly.
I think it's called Polisario, the Polisario Front, or Frente Polisario, the name of the militia that's fighting for Western Saharan independence. I'm going to look up the exact name right now. But the translation is Polisario. Go ahead.
What's the name of the peninsula? It's the Quetta, right? That they
thousands
of Moroccan Quetta. Oh my God!
Quetta is one of the regions. There was like 3 regions that Spain controlled within historic Morocco, and one of the ones where that particular image they say comes from is Quetta. I don't know what you're talking about at first, but I actually want to know the exact name of the militia, so I'm looking this up while we're talking here.
Yes, the king, like you said, showed no interest in bringing Quetta back into Morocco at all. No interest at all. And
by the way, it says here, Polisario Front is a Sahrawi nationalist liberation movement. The Sahrawi are an ethnic group within Western Sahara, where they were originally inhabitants of Western Sahara, just in case. The Sahrawi are like a mix of Berber indigenous tribes, nomadic tribes, with Arab tribes that made their own unique identity in the lands between Mauritania and Morocco, modern Mauritania and Morocco, because Mauritania used to be larger. And since the Spanish left Western Sahara, rather than them gain their independence, because, like, for example, most of Morocco was under French control. There was small pockets under Spanish control, and then all of Western Sahara onto the Mauritanian border was under Spanish control. So once the Spanish Empire left those areas, rather than those people get independence, the Moroccans took over. It's much like the Kurds and the Palestinians. The Kurds, were promised land they never got. Independence was given to Iraq and other countries, and the Kurds take it over. And the Palestinians, because the British made promises to the Palestinian Arabs as well, and instead Israel took over those areas. So in that way, it's similar to what you see with the Western Saharans.
Okay, and clearly, like you said, it's not
right
for them to stay here.
I'll be right back. Okay.
And yeah, so Alex, like you said, we got to remember that Alex takes care of his father. So we also always remember that. I know somebody in the comment section was like, "Why do we believe it?" No, people, we are working class people. We have things to deal with. We have a lot of responsibilities. Okay. Anyway, so I agree with him saying that Sequata was not even claimed by the Moroccan king at all for as long as he's been around, Mohammed the 6th or the 5th, one of those. And all of a sudden, we just going to do this? Really? It's totally to punish Spain, and especially on the fact that you are literally doing a similar occupation to the Western Saharans, similar occupation to the Spanish Sahara. You know what I mean? Absolutely hypocritical. You cannot. This is exactly how Zionists are. Zionists sit here. Oh, we're going to claim this land. We're going to claim that land, and then they get upset when the people that they're occupying is like, "Hey, maybe you should give us this back." What? Why? This was promised to us for 3,000 years. No, Zionists. Not the Zionists. This is a colonial project. I am. We could table the Moroccan part as well too. But I know people have seen the Hamas deal, and are questioning whether or not if Hamas is going to be true to the deal and actually disarm. And a lot of people have been, pissed off on the West saying, oh, Hamas shouldn't disarm. Hamas shouldn't disarm. Yes, I agree. Hamas should not disarm. You know what I mean? And why is it Israel disarming in an agreement? See the hypocrisy in that? Hamas gets to disarm and Israel don't. But there's another part in that agreement that has to be met, which we all know is not going to be met. And what is that part? The part in the agreement is that Israel has to withdraw from Gaza. Now, we all know that is definitely not a BB. I got a pimple under my chin. Lord have mercy. Anyway, we all know that Bibi Netanyahu is not at all going to be okay with that, guys. We know for a fact. He just literally 2 months ago was bragging in Hebrew, because he only likes to tell the truth in Hebrew. He only likes to tell the truth in Hebrew, guys. When you see that boy go yapping off in Hebrew, you know you about to learn some juicy information that the Americans are not supposed to know. He does that on purpose. He said in Hebrew, I'm pretty sure I got the video if I could find it. He said in Hebrew that we took 60% of Gaza. And we are now focusing on trying to take 70% on Gaza. Just like with the Moroccans. Moroccans control 70 to 80% of Western Sahara. You know what I mean? You see the correlation there? Two apartheid states. Morocco, Israel. So he was also furious when Donald Trump started to talk about this deal, and there were reports saying that the reason why he was even here for Lindsey Graham's funeral and all that stuff was because he wanted to talk to President Trump about why we shouldn't have this deal. If Israel loses their footing in staying in Gaza, which I think it's not going to happen, but if Israel does do this, they literally have no excuse. We already know that they don't have an excuse to begin with. For people that understand that they are literally using October 7th, like how we use 9/11, to be this murderous and barbaric and expand. But they want to sit here and use Hamas as the excuse. But Hamas has dismantled their government, and it seems like Hamas is okay as long as Israel leave Gaza with this army. West Bank. Look at the West Bank. The West Bank is getting more violent and more violent as we speak. They don't have an excuse for doing the West Bank. In fact, they've just been getting away with it. Hezbollah is the excuse for Lebanon. What's the excuse for West Bank? It's pure on expansionism when it comes to West Bank as well too, and they don't have an excuse for it. So if they lose the Hamas excuse, they definitely are in trouble. But as long as Big Brother America is with them, we just don't.
Hey, I'm back.
Hey,
I'm back.
So I was.
Let me know if there's too much background noise, and I'll have to go to a different room.
No, you're fine. For right now. For final thoughts on the Hamas deal, basically, what do you think? Hamas is going to disarm?
Well, the Board of Peace is under complete control of the Israelis. We know that. And that was recently demonstrated by the fact that when Hamas offered, and this is not the first time they offered it, to disarm.
That's right. I forgot.
Which was part of the deal that they reached with the Board of Peace. So they agreed with the Board of Peace. Right. They reiterated the fact that they were willing to disarm, and they've lost most of their arms during the, I won't say war, during the genocide anyways. That's another thing. Like, Israel doesn't want to call it a war. They want to call when their prisoners were taken a camping instead of prisoners of war. But then at the same time, they deny genocide. They say it's war. That's a typical Zionist contradiction. But when Netanyahu intervened and said, no, we want Hamas to continue to have their arms, the Board of Peace, the so-called Board of Peace, backed off. And it's funny how they use the word peace, right? Are you familiar with the Latin term Pax Romana?
No.
It means Roman peace, and the Roman imperial peace meant that the subjugated people that were under Roman rule outside of Roman or Italian territories were pacified. That's what peace meant. That rebellions were subdued; they were subjected. And so,
Jesus Christ,
when they talk about, because Kennedy, for example, when he was president, he said we do not want to have a Pax Americana, which meant he did not want the U.S. to be an empire. He wanted the Cold War to end. That's part of the reason why they took him out. And so it's the Board of Peace. It's really a board of Pax Israeliana or Americana. You know what I mean? It's not for real peace. And it's like what Martin Luther King said, there can be no peace without justice. Peace in the absence of justice is not going to be a lasting or real peace. And so, this board of so-called peace, they're just, working at the behest of the Zionist regime. We know that. And this is just another example. When they finally reached a deal with Hamas, Israel said, no, we want Hamas to remain. We want Hamas to still have their arms. And it's like nobody's really talking about it. It shows, for example, it goes back to the origin, right? Just like Hezbollah, Hamas started in the 1980s. Israel was oppressing Palestinians decades before that. And Israel helped foment Hamas. Now, when they say Israel financed Hamas, I don't agree with that. What happened was Israel let money get to Hamas through Qatar. They didn't block the funds because they want Hamas to still exist. They didn't directly give them, but nor did they give the money in the 80s. What happened in the 80s was they let them emerge. They did not suppress them because they saw Hamas as a counterforce to the secular progressive group known as the PLO or the PA, the Fatah, right? Arafat's group. So he saw, the Arab progressive nationalist socialist people like Nasser, people like Yasser Arafat, as a threat. The Israelis, at the time, including Netanyahu, thought that. And so they let in the 80s Hamas emerge. And there's even a theory out there that Netanyahu let October 7th happen. That's why there was a stand down order, and they expected Israelis to be kidnapped. It's like they knew, and then they killed their own people, kind of extension of the Hannibal Directive, because the Hannibal Directive before that was only for soldiers, but they used, I believe, the Hannibal Directive on their own civilians for the first time when the massacre from the air, right? And there was no Palestinian shooting from the air, from Israeli air vehicles, or what do you call them, helicopter gunships that were fired on the festival goers. So
there's video of this.
I'm not trying to underestimate the act of resistance that day on October 7th. So I think it was arrogance more than Israelis knowing. But once it was going on, they didn't seem surprised. So maybe some knew. It's kind of a complex situation to describe. But what I do know is that so-called friendly fire, because friendly fire is supposed to be collateral. This was intentionally killing your own people to prevent them from being taken by Hamas or other groups. But, whatever you want to call friendly fire, some of the deaths were not by the resistance. But they were underestimated the resistance. The imperial Zionistic arrogance caused that as well. So I think when they underestimated the Palestinian resistance, that also resulted in October 7th. But there was some elements within the Israeli regime or the Israeli state that wanted it to happen so they could justify going in and wiping Gaza out. But Israel wants to have Hamas in power and wants so-called power, because it's not really a power, it's an occupied nation still. But they want Hamas to have the arms still, so they can use that to justify a continuation of the genocide or the attempted erasure of Palestinian existence within Gaza itself.
Yeah, and that's why stipulation again with the ceasefire, with this deal, is that Israel has to leave Gaza, which is not going to happen at all. So this deal is not going to happen. You know what I mean? And back to October 7th, that's a very important point that Alex put out, because I didn't put videos out. I saw the videos, of course, but when I tried to put certain videos out, they were always taken down. They didn't even last a second. Same thing, similar with Ukraine, with certain Ukrainian videos that I post up, they don't last a second. But some Ukrainian videos actually make it. Hamas has Hamas literally is not a military army. It's literally like a militia level. You know what I mean? They don't have.
By the way, when the flotilla participants were shown video by force of October 7th, they were very selective when they showed them, didn't they? Because I'm sure they have plenty of footage of helicopter gunships shooting Israeli festival goers. Who owned the gunships? What flag was on the gunships? Israeli ones.
Right.
Oh, they came out hot air balloons. You can't shoot somebody from a hot air balloon. It's not stable enough.
Right.
They had some Palestinian resistors that went in through the air on hot air balloons, but they didn't have the ammunition nor the technology to destroy those vehicles. Like those vehicles that were part of the festival, they were fired on by the Israelis. And I even heard a recording. I don't speak Hebrew, so I hope the subtitles were accurate. But there hasn't been a dispute. And what nobody said is AI either. They have AI checkers on that. But there's a cabinet meeting within Israel itself from October 7th that was recently revealed, where they were talking about we're going to have to kill our own people. And then all of a sudden, Ben Gvir walks in and he says, "Why are you filming? Turn this off." But you already heard them admitting it. And also, one of the guys who ordered it, Gallant, he's also wanted by the ICC, not just Netanyahu. Netanyahu's former minister, Gallant, yes, I ordered the Hannibal Directive. The people that themselves ordered it. And then still the bourgeois press ignores a lot of this. Still a lot of people don't know about this.
It's really annoying because when you see people like Piers Morgan, this huge platform, like this, how he's a shill, because all this information is out. And if he was a real journalist with integrity, you would think he would be one of the first ones to acknowledge it. But no, he does not. He chooses not to. He chooses to blame all Hamas. Literally.
So I don't always agree with George Galloway on everything. But one of my favorite interviews that George Galloway had ever done was when he sat down last time with Piers Morgan to talk about Iran. This is when I think it was right after they killed the Ayatollah, or maybe before that. But they've been attacking Iran, and so he attacked this Iranian American academic. He was born in the United States, speaks perfect English, but is Iranian, by ethnically Iranian. He grew up in Iran as well. I forget his name, but he's a known academic, and he's associated, of course, with the government, with the Ayatollahs. And Piers Morgan gave him a really hard time in his program.
Professor Morandi.
Yeah, that's right. Morandi, good guy. And so, like right after that interview, George Galloway came on to defend him, and then Piers was like, "Wait a minute, you were against the Iraq War, just like I was." And Galloway's like, "Yeah, but I didn't sell out. How could you have treated him like this? His country was under attack. Israel and the United States, they are the ones that started the war with Iran, not the other way around." So you see the contrast, right? The actual left in Britain that stood up against the Iraq War, not the opportunists like Piers Morgan. He might have been correct back then, but since then, he's totally sold out. And you actually see somebody took the same position back then, Galloway, and he's actually being principled. It's like, wow, this is a real, this is a real guy on the left. And again, there's certain social issues I disagree with Galloway on, but when it comes to imperialism, he's very consistent.
Right. No. And Piers Morgan did an interview with one of the spokespersons for Hamas and literally tried to grill him about October the 7th the whole time. And I'm just sitting here like, you're not going to mention not once that the Hannibal Directive killed more people than the attack from Hamas. And
did you hear? Because we talked about the Tate brothers last time. There's been an update. Trump stopped the feds, or as I like to call them, federales. I prefer to use a Spanish word. Trump prevented the federales from getting the not prevented. He ordered the federales to return the computers and all the communication technology of the Tate brothers back to their attorneys. And because they're still being held, they're not on bail yet. They're still in the jail in Miami. They could be in the same jail as Alex Saab. But anyways, like they're being held there, and they have plenty of money to be bailed out, but they haven't been bailed out yet. But they order all their communication devices to be returned to their attorneys. And my theory is because it's going to show communication between Trump and them, because everybody knows that Trump's son, Barron, he loves the Tate brothers. There's members of the Trump family that have been in touch with the Tate brothers, and it's going to make them look bad. And there could be some
Barron's under investigation.
there could be something going behind the scenes to prevent them from being extradited to the UK. But Trump is still friendly with the Tate brothers. I believe that they're trying to do like a balancing act, I guess.
Barron's under investigation, his son. So I wonder what they are finding. I would love to see what Barron Trump was a part of. I would love to see it. I want to see what Barron Trump was doing with those ratchet boys, because that's who they are. They're not men, boys. The red pill makes boys. All right. Anybody out here that likes these manosphere people and, you know, oh, I want to be a quality man and all this nonsense. You want to be a whiny boy. You don't want accountability. You don't want to grow up. You think that this because you make money that you're, you know, a grown adult. No, you are a boy. That's what you are. Child, man, baby, and children. These are men children around here. And they're rich. They're rich man children. So they feel like what they do doesn't matter because they're man children. Anyway, Alex Suarez is I'm
back
right now. Okay, I'm back. Alex, I want to move to Taiwan real quick.
Sure.
This is a big story
the Taiwanese-Israeli alliance.
I didn't know about that, but I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a thing about that. The Taiwanese ambassador with the Israeli ambassador was disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. What I have here is that the people of Taiwan, the media has not been showing this at all, guys. So you're not really going to see this unless you follow Asian reporters, especially Asian reporters in Taiwan and Asian reporters in the mainland China as well too. So basically, there are over 200,000 Taiwanese protesters that are protesting the DDP party, which is the ruling party of Taiwan. They are opposition to the KMT party, which is the KMT party is the party that was meeting with Xi Jinping to bring more relations instead of doing a narrative with being aggressors against China. They are actually wanting to build a relationship, build a foundation, trade with each other, become more friendly. That's the KMT party that wants to do that. They're not in power yet. They were in power during the Daikon Chek regime, who was supposedly self-proclaimed the true ruler of China. You know, that's a whole nother history. But they have flipped their policy over. The reason why that these protesters are protesting.
By the way, did you know that Stalin supported Chiang Kai-shek over Mao in the beginning, and Chiang Kai-shek was in exile in Taiwan. Yeah, and he got the support from Stalin because he didn't want to support Mao. You know, and also Stalin voted for.
They had a riff.
Stalin voted in the UN for the independence of Israel. So a lot of the Stalinists that are against Taiwan separating from China, that are against what Israel's doing to the Palestinians and its other neighbors. It's kind of a contradiction if you actually look what Stalin did, isn't it?
Oh no, it's very contradictory. I totally agree with you, comrade. That was one of the biggest sins of the USSR, to agree with the international community to legitimize Israel. They should have never did that shit. They should have never did that shit.
Well, Trumbo was the one who wrote the screenplay of Exodus. Exodus tells the myth of the Zionists that, you know, they claimed that on the radio, although there's no recording that's out there. I can hear a recording right now of Lenin speaking on the radio. Vladimir Lenin, back from like the early 1920s. And you mean to tell me in 1948, there's not a single recording on the radio that's out of the Israelis saying, please, Palestinians, stay. But that came out in Exodus, which was a Zionist propaganda piece written by a communist, well, a Stalinist named Trumbo. And by the way, I don't support the McCarthyism they'd get against Trumbo. There was some good about him. But he was wrong when it came to being in favor of the Stalinist support of the Zionist project. And they had that movie have a false narrative where they showed, like, you know, Zionist leaders speaking on the radio saying to the Arabs, please stay, don't leave. No, there was ethnic cleansing. They wanted them to go. Like there's no evidence that they asked them to leave. Quite the opposite.
Yep. So this protest is about, it's similar to what we're dealing with. This is why I wanted to talk about the story, because it gives you the similarity of class struggle. Their food is being poisoned, and one of the big key factors of one of the big key items that are being poisoned is their oil that they use to cook with. I cook with olive oil a lot. I love to cook with olive oil. And their oils are being poisoned. And it's the government oversight that is ignoring that their people are getting sick off of this oil. So not only are they protesting about this to raise awareness, but they are also calling for the resignation of the president of Taiwan, and also the resignation of the officials that were involved in the DDP. This is a big thing for the KMT to get in power. And
by the way, I don't want to get off on tangents, but I'm curious. Have you ever seen Spartacus?
The show from
no,
Showtime.
The movie. It was written by Trumbo. I much prefer Spartacus to Exodus.
Oh no, I don't think I've seen it.
It stars Michael Douglas's father, Kirk Douglas. He was a progressive, and he plays Spartacus. And I remember when I was a teacher, the students were in shock when I told them, "Do you know there was non-black slaves?" What? I had to be careful, right? Because I'm not trying to have DeSantis get me fired, but I was telling them, like, yeah, there was white slaves. There was the whites enslaved whites. There was Romans enslaved Greeks. There was a Greek hero, a former slave named Spartacus. And I told them a little bit about him. But that was a great movie. You should see the original, man, not the show, the actual movie.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna definitely check it out. No, because I'm a big fan of Spartacus. I appreciate. Yeah, no, you brought it up. It was random, but my notes on understanding the rebellion.
I brought it up. We talked about Shanghai Shek, and whenever anybody talks to me about Shanghai Shek, I remind them: yes, he was a bourgeois leader. Yes, he should not have been supported by the left. But at the time, Stalin was on the wrong side of history. He supported Shanghai Shek over Mao. And
Shanghai Shek also was not
Trumbo, who did movies about the Zionists and movies about former slaves. Spartacus was a way better movie, much more factual.
Yeah, Spartacus rebellion, it started well, but the issue is that when they kept on winning, they really realized they didn't have a goal, guys. So they were just
their goal was to end slavery within all the Roman Empire, though.
Right, but they kept on winning, and they realized, we keep on winning, and they're like, maybe we should overthrow the Roman Empire, and that's where they effed up at, because Crassus was taking them very seriously compared to the other Roman generals. The other Roman generals saw them as a joke. They didn't take them seriously, which is why they would have made so easily.
Country in Sicily if it wasn't for the betrayal of the pirates. If the pirates didn't betray them at the behest of Rome and kept their word and brought them to Sicily, brought them safe passage to Sicily. Sicily's always been like separate from Roman. They feel more like Greek than Roman. If they had brought Spartacus and the others to Sicily, they probably would have made their own country free of slavery. They would have been an example to defy Rome. Would they have defeated the Roman Empire at that time? No, but they probably would have had their own nation free of slaves, kind of like Haiti, right? Within Sicily.
Right.
If it wasn't for the pirates' betrayal, I think if one thing didn't happen in that narrative, they would have been successful. That's how close they were to winning. It was very similar to Tupac Amaru. If you look at Tupac Amaru, the Inca warrior, the second one, his wife was very wise. Her name was Micaela Bastidas. I think Bastidas. Micaela was her name. And she told her husband, do not hesitate to go into Cusco. You go into Cusco and you take Cusco from the Spanish right now. And he's like, no, I need reinforcements. I need this. I need that. And he hesitated so much that the Spanish reinforcements got to Cusco. By the time he got there, he was defeated.
No.
If he had went to Cusco when his wife said so, the Incas would have retook Peru. They would have had their own country again. At least for a long time.
But that's just so sad, and it's like a what if, you know what I mean? Because it's the same thing with Spartacus. What if instead of them, going back and fighting more, and then they run into Crassus and Crassus crushes their rebellion? What if they did exactly what you said, something like that? Create a country outside on a nearby island like Sicily, for example, and like Haiti. It would be like a country for a free people. But it's sad that they didn't have victory when they were well deserving of that.
Another
victory,
good example is Hannibal. Hannibal, was a North African man from Carthage, which is modern day Tunisia, Libya, that area. Actually one of Gaddafi's sons named Hannibal. And he's still alive, but he's not political. If Hannibal was not betrayed by his own generals, he would have defeated Rome. But Rome came close to being defeated, not just by Spartacus, by others in history. There's so many examples, like there's an example. The original Tupac Amaru was fighting outside of Cusco, and he was waiting for reinforcements of other Inca warriors, and they came too late. And by the time they came, they were massacred. The Spanish defeated them. Had those reinforcements come a little bit earlier, they were able to resist the Spaniards successfully. But one of the things that Amaru the First did, which was great, was successfully demoralize the Spanish. Like he even killed one of Pizarro, who was the guy who started Peru, the conqueror. He killed one of Pizarro's brothers. And what they did was, because they had advanced weaponry, not as advanced as the gun, but similar. For example, what the Incas did was they heat up stones and fire so that they were very powerful, and they were very good with slingshots. And so Juan Pizarro, who was Francisco Pizarro's younger brother, got one of those stones that hit his helmet and didn't quite penetrate his head, but his helmet was damaged. So he had to take his helmet off, and he's on horseback. Easy target, right? The arrogant Spaniard. And so he continues on horseback. If he went on foot, he probably would have survived. But he continues on horseback, trying to, slash with the sword, the Inca warriors. And then the next one that got thrown at him hit him in the head and killed him. And so they were very close to defeating the Spanish twice. And actually, Tupac Amaru II was indeed, I can't think of the last name, but he was a direct descendant of Tupac Amaru I. About 200 years transpired. But through one of the daughters of Tupac Amaru I, because they killed all his sons, he was related to him. And so he honored his ancestors by starting a second rebellion in the 1700s, where they were very close to winning, maybe even more close to winning than in the original rebellion in the 1500s. Had he went into Cusco when Mikael had told him, this is why you should listen to your wife, right? I'm not married, but people listen to your wife because they have some wisdom. They're with you for something.
Right.
Exactly. He probably would have defeated them.
Yeah, man. And like, do you see going into modern time today, this is the fighting spirit that we need to bring together, not only here in Taiwan, the empire can be defeated no matter how powerful the empire is. The empire is a human system. The empire is a human regime. They can be defeated. They will always have weaknesses. Why do you think Trump right now is pissed off at the journalists that are leaking that how we are out of weapons? And Ukraine is without Patriot missiles. And the Pentagon literally said that Ukraine's not going to get Patriot missiles for a while. They can't even protect Israel that leaked out with their Iron Dome anymore. This is the weakening of the empire. We are witnessing this. This is the stalemate of the empire. Now, will they humble themselves like the British did? I don't know, because Americans are crazy. There's no telling what Americans can do. You know what I mean? Here we are at the anniversary. Yesterday was the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And there was no reason for them to drop that nuclear bomb. But they wanted to drop the nuclear bomb anyway. Not to just defeat Japan, when Japan was already basically defeated. But to show Russia, hey, we got the nuke first. F around if you want to. That's the reason why they killed over 100,000 people, vaporized them. And on this day, on this anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Actually, the day was yesterday, forgive me. You know what I mean? So look how long they have ran. They have ran from that war all the way to now, about 70 years, 70, 60 70, maybe 75 years around there. I'm not really good at math. As being the dominant empire. But they are declining so rapidly. The dollar literally dropped 30%. Because instead of them learning and adapting, they choose to become big-headed. They choose to pretend that they're all knowing when they're only when we're only a country that's 250 years old, beefing with countries that have outlast multiple empires. You know, Persia, Iran. Iran's been around for 6,000 years. China's been around for over 6,000 years.
I'm back. I just want to mention something real quick. That you can say whatever you like.
Yeah.
I remember. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
I remember what the last name was. So Tupac Amaru II's last name was Condorcanqui. It has the word condor in it because condor is an indigenous name. You know, like the condor bird from South America? The word condor is indigenous. Yep, sure. Yeah. So he was Condorcanqui. And that's one of the last names that belonged to the daughters of Tupac Amaru from like 200 years prior. So he was like his great grandfather, something like that. He was directly related to him. But he was more of a mestizo, you know, mixed Spanish and indigenous. But go ahead with your points.
No, I was just saying, like, you know, we have a country that's only 250 years old, acting like they know better than countries that have outlast multiple empires. You know, China had to deal with
invade Persia. The Persians have always been right. People have been trying to invade them for a long time.
For a long time. You know what I mean? What makes America any different? It doesn't, guys. It doesn't. They will fail, just like the Romans did, just like the Greeks did. Everyone tries and everyone fails. That's just how it is. And you know, the Persian Empire itself collapsed under Xerxes. You know what I mean? And look how long they have lasted after they stopped being an empire.
Well, you know who longer lasted than the Persian was the Afghanis. Because after the Greeks left Persia, they tried to conquer Afghanistan and even went into like the frontiers of modern day India, like in the Indus River, like where Pakistan's at. But like the Afghanis maintained their presence even after the Persian Empire fell. Nobody was able to conquer the Afghanis.
And look how large the Mongolian Empire was and how short that lasted.
Well, the grandsons of Genghis Khan continued on after him, so it was at least 3 generations. But yeah, it didn't last forever. I mean, even the Chinese Great Wall was not able to stop the Mongols from controlling the country. They were able to go in. Like there's parts of the walls they had to rebuild because they were not impenetrable. Kind of makes you think of the wall in Mexico, right? That's not going to last either. Right. But you know, so yeah, the Mongols were their height was about 3 generations. But after the grandsons of Genghis Khan died, and some of them converted to Islam. You know, and some of them went to the Middle East. But after the last grandson of Genghis Khan died, the Mongolians started to decline in their influence in the region, in the Middle East and in the East.
Yep, the Han Dynasty. Look how long that lasted. Like the empires,
or the Huns, for that matter, right? Attila the Hun was like a modern day Hungarian, just like Hannibal. He almost defeated the Romans too.
Right. Empires fall. This is all I'm trying to get people to understand, and people have to understand this because Americans are big-headed. You know what I mean? They think that this is the greatest country in the world. They said that in Rome. They said that in Mongolia. They said that in the British. Everybody is saying what we're saying, and they are no longer these powerful empires anymore.
Do you know Rabbi Shmuley went to Greenland the other day? You know who the Zionist is, right? Rabbi Shmuley?
Yeah.
To me, he's not even a real rabbi. But anyways, this guy, he went into Greenland, and he's arguing with somebody about Palestine, and he's filming it, like the coward that he is, because he's got to film it in case, you know, it gets fighting. But
I'm so triggered.
He said to the guy, he said, get out of my country. I support Trump. Get out of my country. To the Greenlander in Greenland. So this Zionist thinks that he can just go anywhere and it's his country. It's like, excuse me, you're not in Argentina. They're not giving you over the Patagonia. You're in Greenland. Yeah. They're their own nation, and they're 80% indigenous. You get the fuck out.
Yep.
And by the way, Rabbi Shmuley was treated really well by Pierce Morgan. They had like a debate, and you could tell that Pierce was more on his side. I mean, I'll give Pierce minimal credit in saying, yeah, he brings in some controversial people that a lot of the mainstream or bourgeois press wouldn't necessarily bring on. But he's very, very partial to the other side. And yeah, he might have been on the right position back in 2003 over Iraq. But since then, he sold out. And not everybody did, right? Because George Galloway still holds a lot of those same positions. So it's quite a contrast.
And also, not to mention, Rabbi Shmuley, he knew Michael Jackson very well. Rabbi Shmuley would get calls from Michael Jackson every time Michael Jackson heard about what's going on with the Palestinians. And he would up hours and hours trying to explain to Michael Jackson, no, we're not like that, blah, blah, blah. But Michael would always literally respond back, no, you're doing this. I see this. You're doing this. Michael Jackson was not playing with Rabbi Shmuley.
You know, he changed his name before he died.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
He converted to Islam and he renamed himself Mikael Jackson because Mikael, like the archangel Michael, who's also in the Quran, Mikael is Michael in Arabic.
That's dope. I
believe his family were all Jehovah's Witnesses, right? But yeah, he last years of his life, he converted to Islam. He was very concerned about the children of Palestine,
Yep.
I'll put it this way. He was a lot more a real Muslim than Andrew Tate. Because Muslims could respect women, they wouldn't be capable of doing what Andrew Tate had done. And like I said in the beginning, even though I don't agree with him politically, I was skeptical about these charges. But they look serious, against him and his brother. But it looks like the Trump regime in the end is going to find a way to have those charges dropped. They always protect the criminals, right?
Yes, they do. Also, but back to Iran. One more thing before anything. We have a report from. Let me get to the
one again to Bolivia before the end of the program.
Okay. So we'll do this real quick and then go to Bolivia. So Mossad agents, the guy that runs Mossad, I can't think his name right now. Channel 12 basically reported that he fired 2 chief of staff senior officials that were assigned to plan the regime change of Iran. Since they failed, they were fired. This just came out today. It says August 2nd, August 7th. So here we are out in the open, guys, that this was all a regime change plot. CIA, Mossad standard type of plot, just like the CIA does all around the fucking world. They get fired, and now we know why they got fired, because they failed to regime change. I think they're all stupid. Stupid racists. Like when you look into their plans was to get psyops on the ground with guns, shooting over 200 something police, and then the Iranians shoot back, killed about 3,000, even though the media wants to lie and say that it was more than 50,000. They always switching the numbers up. We know that the reason why we know it's about 3,000 people is because they have their IDs. They have identification on them. They were able to identify these bodies, and when they brought all the bodies together, it was 3,000. So it's a lie when they say it's about 50,000 people. Are you still there, Alex?
I'm here.
Okay. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? How Mossad had to fire people? Was this? Did they whistleblow this, or how did Channel 12 find out that Mossad was firing 2 senior officials as part of the regime change? I got to look into that. That's very interesting.
I mean, there's always reshuffling going on. It's just ways to further the power struggle. Just like Netanyahu always seems to find a way to stay in power and stay out of legal problems, even when he's convicted within the Israeli courts. It's part of the reason why he's in a permanent state of war, always starting wars with people, so that he can say, "Oh no, I have war protection. You can't go after me for corruption or whatever." And interestingly enough, the Israelis are going after him for corruption. They don't care about his war crimes. They care less about that.
Yep. And you said to do Peru real quick. Let's talk about it. What's up, Peru?
Well, Bolivia, but Peru's related as well. But
Bolivia,
yeah, they made an arrest warrant. They made an arrest warrant against Evo Morales. They said there's up to 150. I don't know if they're U.S. Rangers or what, or trainers or whatever they want to call them. They sent 150 U.S. officials into Bolivia and helping in a Maduro-style kidnapping of Evo Morales, which they have not implemented yet because he has, armed people that are guarding him in a kind of rural area outside of Cochabamba in Bolivia, in his hometown. And so in El Alto, I believe, in that region. And so, they're having I don't know if it's a siege or what, but certainly things have escalated. I mean, his former economic minister, who was president, became his rival, Arce. He's already behind bars. They haven't got Evo yet. But I think it's the responsibility of all internationalists, all those who support the left in Latin America, to get behind Evo Morales and expose this and not let them do what they did to Maduro to Evo, where Evo could end up in Miami or New York jail next. We certainly do not want that.
Yeah, and they clearly need to grab him because they want to crush the resistance. Mm-hmm. And Evo is literally the standard of resistance for Bolivia, excuse me.
And by the way, you can't blame him for not going to court. Had he gone to court to face the new charges, the new bullshit charges, they would have kidnapped him right there. So he's doing something intelligent. He's staying within his country. He's staying under the protection of his people. He doesn't want to go into exile again. I think what he's doing is intelligent. He needs to stay there as long as possible, resist until Paz resigns or is forced from power. Because Paz, who's a Spaniard, he's an imperialist. He should no longer be ruling over the people of Bolivia, the primarily indigenous people of Bolivia.
Evo is like Nelson Mandela, like all of our great leaders, and Bolivia is in the middle of a revolution right now. And I really do feel that Bolivia will get a chance, to have someone back in office that reflects them. I know that guy that we talked about, Arcanes, is that his name?
Arce?
How he betrayed the movement. Arce, he betrayed the movement, and because of his nonsense, we get this asshole Paz. And Bolivia will overcome this. I really do have the optimism that they will.
Very similar to what happened with Lenin Moreno. You might remember the Ecuadorian, I don't say dictator, but quasi-dictator, the Ecuadorian president who was in power when Assange was permitted to be kidnapped from the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He was part of Correa, which was the leftist government, but he betrayed them.
Yes.
He became president. He arrested the vice president, who was a real Correista, a real socialist, and then betrayed the left. And then as a result, you had a narco far-right dictator who's in power now, Noboa, come. And it's kind of happened in Bolivia. There was a lot of divisions among the left. They found somebody that was not Arce or Evo to run, but he wasn't very known. And the left lost, and then the far right took over. But the people's movements are continuing.
This is why Nicaragua suspended their elections. And I totally.
Well, they actually said that they were banning. I actually looked into it further, and that was a misquote. What Ortega said is that they were banning people that backed foreign invasion from running as candidates. And that'd be nice if Venezuela passed a law like that. I mean, they did something similar when they prevented Machado from running.
Real nice.
But the guy that they brought in instead of Machado had advocated for the same thing. But for her, for various reasons, they wouldn't let her run. And she wasn't very popular. But she did a lot of legal shit. In the United States, she would be behind bars for what she did. And so Nicaragua is saying when we have elections again, all the people in the opposition that have been backing foreign invasion are not allowed to run. And that's understandable, especially if you look at the recent history and the recent meddling. They're definitely not going to let in these companies to count the vote. These NGOs or whatever they're going to call themselves. They're probably financed by the CIA. They probably international observers. I know international observers have gone there, but they're clamping down on the candidates that have backed foreign invasion. I would even extend that law to say those who backed economic terrorism, sanctions, because that's a betrayal of the nation. I mean, to me, that's just common sense. But they took that and they misquoted it, and they made it look like he was saying no more elections. And even that, right? Because my initial reaction was like, even that's understandable with how much the U.S. empire has been meddling in the region and their economic and their democratic processes.
Right. No, for real. And this is why we need to back these resistance, because they don't talk about this in the news. No one knows about it, and we have to tell this history, to tell this information, what's going on. You know what I mean? Because especially in a time where the right is trying to be dominant and permanent in Latin America, people are going to feel very, very depressed, sad. You know what I mean? It's not just evil that they're after people. They are also going to try to go after Claudia Sheinbaum. They already have psyops within Mexico that are literally.
You remember that protest that they said they were all young people, and when you actually looked at the video, they were like 50 and above. They were like middle class, bourgeois, right, older, probably U.S. financed, people that were showing up at the protest. It's like. And they were like, yeah, we're the Gen Zs. And you couldn't find a single Gen Z. They were all people above 50. It was like, those are when they were protesting against Claudia. Give me a break.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm mostly pissed about, before I go, what did I say? I'm mostly pissed about Malay that he doesn't make sideburns cool anymore. You know, I'm old school, man. It's not just I like sideburns, man. In the 70s, all the guys had the sideburns. I try to bring it back. I like the old school. I like history. Malay, he's got sideburns too. And I'm like, what? He doesn't make sideburns cool anymore, man. Here you have this head of state, a total sellout, total capitulator to Israel and Trump, and he's going around with sideburns. I'm like, come on, man, shave those off. You don't make a sideburns cool anymore, man.
That's your trademark, Alice. That is your trademark.
He's trying to steal it from me. He's trying to make it like, oh yeah, be a right-wing fascist sellout and have these cool sideburns. Get out of here. Come on, man.
People at my job that have seen the show, they're like, who's that guy with the sideburns, man? Like, for real? I'm going to keep my comments about the elections that just passed for Willie Bragg's show on Monday. And also Sunday, we're going to have
gentleman in Michigan.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a big crushing. That was a big crushing.
I got a little more into it, but definitely looking forward to your comments. Yeah.
Also, we're going to have our guy, comrade Pablo, not Pablo.
On Sunday, yeah.
On Sunday, okay, guys, around this time, 5:00. So
EST.
Definitely check that out. It's going to be a banger of an episode. Because everybody that have seen Pablo, they know that he is very well educated, well versed, well understanding from the ground itself, not from the scholarly pit where he could actually.
I plan to go to Cuba this year. I don't know if at the same time, but
nice.
He's definitely a well-traveled, well-versed guy.
Yep. So please, guys, look out for that. And again, like I said, like, share, subscribe. I need to start saying that so much more. I need to start reminding people, like, share. If you love this show and you want this show to survive, because I'm going to start doing a lot less music interviews, starting to get more into revolutionary talking, into more political, as a journalist as well too. We're going to put a sidebar on music. We're going to actually make this be the show, having more political talk, more working class people.
By the way, when I talk about Spartacus, if you could put that as a clip, that'd be great, because that's a must-see movie for revolutionaries right there.
Oh yeah, no problem. I got you. I put that in the notes right now. For all right, so I'll see you later, my brother. We'll see.
Yeah, you know me, man. I've been doing karaoke tonight, having a good weekend. I hope you have a good weekend, comrade. Okay, peace out.
Yep. You too. And to everybody in the airways, I hope you guys have a good weekend.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?